If you run a company or manage a team, hiring qualified people quickly can make or break your business. Imagine a position of need going unfilled for weeks or even months because you just can't seem to find the right candidate. When it comes to hiring, Indeed is all you need. Stop struggling to get your job post seen on other job sites. Indeed sponsored jobs help you stand out and hire fast. With sponsored jobs, your post jumps to the top of the page for your relevant candidates so you can reach the people you want faster. This makes a huge difference. According to Indeed data, sponsored jobs posted directly on Indeed have 45% more applications than non-sponsored jobs. Plus, there's no monthly subscriptions, no long-term contracts. You only pay for results on your job post. Just in the last minute that I've been talking to you, 23 hires were made on Indeed, according to Indeed data worldwide. Now that is fast. There's no need to wait any longer. Speed up your hiring right now with Indeed. Listeners will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/BWN. Go to Indeed.com/BWN right now to support this podcast. Indeed.com/BWN. Terms and conditions apply.
Welcome back, Mavs fans. This is Pod Mavericks presents Mavs Party. It is a little before 10 o'clock on February 6th. It's a Thursday night. The Dallas Mavericks just defeated the Boston Celtics, and one of the more, let's call it like a cathartic win of the year. They were on the road in Boston. Final game of a 5-game road trip, the longest of the season. They came out and really throttled the Celtics. 127 to 120 doesn't really do justice to how much the Mavericks handled the Celtics for the majority of the game here. This is our post-game after show where you can come and talk a little basketball with me. There's been a lot to talk about. I haven't really done one of these since the night Luka was traded. There's lots of things you could yell at me about, and we can talk. I would like to kind of keep this relatively short because I want to go hang out with my wife, but we'll see. We already got 8 people waiting to talk. So I'll let you guys go. I'll try not to talk too much. You can get your takes off. Coming up first is one of my friends. All of you guys are my friends. What am I talking about? Sudar Shan, how are you doing, buddy?
Hey, good morning or good night or whatever it is.
Whatever time it is in this world. How you doing, bud?
I've lost track of whether it's day or night or whatever. This past week has just been one big funk.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. So there's not much to talk about this game. I think this is it's one of those variance games where Boston had like sub 50% or like 40% shooting from the field. They made like 13 threes or something like that. And the Mavs were like more than 55% on their field goals. So, I mean, the one thing is now going forward, it's going to be a lot, at least to me, it's going to be a lot like the 21-22 season and the 22-23 season, where we're going to depend on variance from players more than anything to actually win games.
Okay.
So there's going to be a lot of games where, they'll come out and they will shoot 50 or 60% from the field and they'll blow teams out of the water. But then there'll also be a lot of games where they'll shoot like 35 and 40% and they'll look like ass.
Yes, tonight was definitely the latter.
Yeah, I mean, the Cleveland game, we can't read into. It's like you said, that was just like a war zone.
Yeah, I mean, the the Cavaliers shot like 65% from 3 in the first half. It's like, okay, this one's done.
Yeah, it wasn't it. So I think that's the major thing. That's one of the major frustrations about this entire move is that we were sort of building this entire team so that we had a consistent floor and it wasn't so much moving up and down game to game and sort of hoping for something. And it's like with Luka, with Kyrie, with all the pieces around them, you were always guaranteed consistent production. Whereas now we're just back to like hoping and praying that, I mean, we've just traded Tim Hardaway Jr. for Spencer Dinwiddie.
Well, I mean, I gotta see how the actual lineups work.
Yeah.
If AD is hitting shots like at the clip that he can, the offense is going to look great. If he is in a weird spot because his shot comes and goes, the offense is going to look like mud. It's just, I hate to be that reductive, because that's probably not fair, but that will feel how things will go in the future, at least for the Mavericks.
No, I mean, that's true. I mean, and here's the thing that I want to say is that I'm not going to root against AD and Max Christie because they're Mavericks players, and I don't think anyone should root against them.
Yeah.
But I mean, we're all collectively rooting for Nico to get fired. That's the main thing out of all of this. Because okay, fine. Say you don't believe in Luka and you pull this move and all of that kind of stuff. It's all the stuff around it that's pissing everyone off.
You mean the way it unfolded more than anything? Yeah.
It's the secret meetings with his I'm not going to call him his lover, but
his friend, like his longtime friend, like Rob Pelinka is his friend.
His best friend Rob Pelinka. It's the shitting on Luka with his conditioning concerns, and he's not going to take the Supermax and all of those kind of things. It's all of that kind of stuff that really pisses everyone off, or at least pisses all of us Mavs fans off. Because Luka was our guy, and there's nothing else in that entire thing. So so when they come out saying that they're worried about the safety, there's actually only one person who needs to be concerned about his safety, and that's Nico Harrison.
I am trying not to get myself in trouble on tape, is where I will go with that. So,
and I live halfway across the world. I don't think for me that's so much of an issue.
Fair enough, buddy. You doing okay?
Yeah, and finally, one final point about the so-called the Mamba mentality kind of thing. I mean, I just got the book recently because I'm a book nerd. I love collecting books and I love reading, and that is a glorified coffee table book. It's not anything to do with. I mean, there are a couple of quotes in there. There are a couple of interviews. Yeah, all of that kind of stuff is there, but it's not this mythical kind of this thing. And I have loads of respect for Kobe. I mean, when I went to LA earlier this year, I did pray at the altar of Kobe at his statue and all of those kind of things.
That's right.
As a sign of respect, nothing else. But I mean, if you were truly about the Mamba mentality, we already had the guy with the Mamba mentality, and you threw him away.
Yeah, Kobe wouldn't have liked the trade.
No.
Kind of a thing. I mean, maybe he would have liked the trade because he's a Lakers guy for life. He would have liked it for the Lakers.
Yeah.
Like that's all right, brother. Thanks so much, man. You got anything else?
Oh, yeah. One final thing. The one thing that makes me absolutely sure that this trade is complete ass for us as Mavericks fans is the national media are united in the fact that this is a good deal for the Mavericks and for the Lakers.
TV commentators that had played basketball. That's all. It's not. No, you go through like I just all the shows that I listen to that are kind of national focused. Like everyone's like, "What is this?"
Anyway, I mean, I'm done for this thing. We'll see on Saturday. Saturday is going to be interesting to say the least.
Yeah. All right, man. I'll talk to you.
Take care.
Bye. Oh, Leo, what's up, brother?
Oops, sorry, a little slower on the draw.
Good, man. What's up?
I'm not really sure if I want to talk too much about this game. I'm happy Max Christie played well. I'm happy Najee looks like he came back from comatose. But in general, this is more of like maybe my own kind of way of saying thank you, Kirk. Mm-hmm. I am a Mavs fan because I found your podcast after Luka made a 3.
Oh, yeah.
That's honestly how this all worked. I found you. I found Locked On Mavs. I found SJ and Dwight. I found Bibbs and Reese. And to say that my Mavs fandom is going to persist is not something I would think I will ever be able to say is a truth or would be fair to the players by saying I don't ever want to root for this team again. But if I keep rooting, it will not be because some GM ruined my love of basketball, but it will be because of the community that was formed by fans, for fans, and for the love of the game and the players that we have had. Thank you.
Sure thing, buddy. All right. We got Rain coming up next. Rain, how you doing, man?
I'll try to keep it quick. On this game, I didn't watch. I paid attention to the box score, but I am on the box scores. To me, it looks like there is nothing that indicates to me that this was anything more than every single role player pretty much played to the maximum of their ability.
Honestly, Clay got so hot in the first half that the Celtics were sort of out of their minds. Everybody looked really comfortable. The Celtics were slow on the Celtics did not play a good game. And the Mavericks, what they did that was really interesting in this one was they kept the Celtics on their heels through 40 of the 48 minutes. You would have thought coming out of the second half, the Celtics would have punched back, but it was the Mavericks. And it was everybody. I mean, Kyrie kind of finally started hitting shots. Spencer Dinwiddie was big. This was a big team game, man. You're right that the role players showed out, but I would say it wasn't a showing out in the like the luck sense. Like the shots and the process was good. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So what I mean, and maybe this is poor taste of me. Anyone not Kyrie or Luka to me is a role player.
Sure, okay, I get it. Right now,
so like Clay, Najee, Exum being good as he's been back. Like it doesn't. I don't mean to say they looked out of their mind or they had like a
Sure.
7 of 7 shooting game. They just played to within their ability on the higher end of it.
Sure. No, I think there's something to that.
This, however, for me, foreshadows that on the back of predominantly health, the record may not be terrible because people are starting to get healthy. The only people out at the moment are going to be what?
Lively's kind of the
Lively
guy
and
that's
AD.
out for a while. Yeah. And AD they expect to play against the Rockets.
So the team's going to be mostly healthy with 2 functional centers again, because even though Lively's going to be out, if we've got AD, he's a very functional center. For whatever you want to say about him, he's a very functional offensive, defensive player.
Yeah, no, he's great.
They're going to win more games, and they're going to be healthy, and it's going to be attributed to specifically they got rid of Luka, they got rid of the guy who was holding up this, or he prevented that, or whatever the case is. And people are going to go, the Mavs won this trade in the short term. The Mavs won the trade. And no matter what they do, they will not be able to convince me that they won this trade. Even if they win a title this year, unless they win it off the back of specifically Anthony Davis' defense, you will not be able to convince me and probably many others that it would not have been possible with Luka.
Look, I'm working on getting these boys to the playoffs first, and then we can talk about other stuff.
Yeah, but exactly that. If they get there, it's going to be attributed that they won the trade. But
well, I mean, the Lakers are further up the standings.
They are, and
they traded like and the part of the issue and why we're so damn pissed about the pick in the specific is they used the 2031 pick to go get a center. Like before last night, I would have said the Lakers are going to fade because they have a kind of a bitch of a schedule down the pike. But then they go and get big old Mark Williams, who is a very potent lob threat. And I'm just like, damn it, these guys are just failing up. Drives me crazy.
I'm gonna try to keep Lakers takes away from this, but I don't like that trade.
You don't?
No. They.
I like what they did because okay. How about this? I like the intention of what they did more because they had a problem and they addressed it.
Okay. This is going to tell you how crazy I've been over the last couple of days.
Sure.
If they had kept those assets in this offseason, they would have had a combined $40 million of expiring contracts for non-terrible players. Yeah. So the combined picks with that, they probably could have got a lot more. This guy seems to have a slew of injury histories. You can't necessarily trust that because he was on a rebuilding team.
Yes, which everybody that seems to leave Charlotte is like, thank God you got me out of the hatch.
But also, it's like, if you think about it, like SGA used to get injured all the time, and since they've been a competitive team, I get the feeling, like, if I remember when we sat Luka for like one game and everyone lost their goddamn mind.
SGA used to get sat for whole stretches because of
Exactly.
like I wouldn't say they're made up, but they were stretched certainly.
That season, didn't Dame practically sit out the whole season as a choice after he got a surgery so they could get a better draft pick? And no one also batted an eye at that. Okay, we're rehashing.
Yeah.
But the trade for me, he's got too much potential injury. He's not that good defensively. They're going to be relying too much on DFS, and we've seen what happens when you put too much on DFS.
Well, I mean, we get to play him. I mean, we play him in a couple of weeks, like after the trade deadline, or I'm sorry, after All-Star break. So we'll get to see it in a hurry.
Yeah, well, and that's going to be the crazy thing. Rooting for every bucket that a player gets against the Mavericks is going to be the strangest.
Feel very weird. That's right.
I think I had one more thing to say. No, that was pretty much it. Yeah. On the player safety thing, that's no one and no Mavs fan in their right mind is going to be a threat to any of the players. I can see some crazy people, especially with the doxing. Nico Harrison probably has some legitimate concerns, but hey, man, like, so is the dice you roll. You got unhappy fans. Like, no one deserves violence, obviously, but like, the unhappiness towards the front office is very warranted, and the fact that they're trying to call it crazy, basically, is not going to do anything to dissuade fans from feeling unhappy with the front office at this point. I foresee them continuing to make blunder after blunder of statements that will
10 of 10 comment from long time. He's not been back for a while, but Dr. Sager in the comments said, wait, did the Mavericks actually win? That's a hilarious drop-in comment. Thank you. But yes, you are right, Rain. I'm very annoyed with it. We'll see. Saturday will be fine. Like, there's going to be a bunch of people that are in Victory Plaza, like talking to each other with signs, and nothing is going to even happen. I want to go, but who knows?
Yeah. I got to ask a question. Like, you mentioned that it's a favor to an agent to trade him. Did we get? With all the trade information, I haven't had a lot of sleep.
It's fine.
Did we give picks or receive picks? Because I was first under the impression we sent out a pick, and now it seems like we.
You mean for the Sixers? So the trade got amended. Josh and I just talked about this. The trade got amended. For some reason, the Mavericks sent a pick initially.
Yes.
They also, but it was 2027 second round pick. That is the Sixers' own pick.
Yeah,
and
it was the last pick.
Today we received back a 2030 second round pick because he failed. I think he failed his physical. So it's like, in order to like push the trade through with the understanding that the physical was still failed, meaning he's not going to play for 2-3 weeks at least. His time, like, he doesn't have a timetable for return. So that's why that happened.
And this goes back to something else you said earlier. The asset management, that they're giving away another second round pick. Yes, maybe as a favor to Quentin Grimes, yada, yada, whatever. Mm-hmm. Taking back an injured player on a little bit more money, that's, yes, cost control, whatever. I, at this point, think Quentin Grimes is a better player than what they're getting back, ignoring the fact that he's injured. To just be sending out the last of the assets they have. And
I don't like the second round pick send, but I do. I get what you're saying.
Yeah. And one last take was, I think Nico might genuinely be an industry plant. If we just think about it, since he's arrived at the Mavericks, almost all of his bad free agency or trades have led to big market NBA teams having franchise players or creating monster rosters. Just going to leave that one out there. We now got Brunson on the Knicks, big market. And we now got Luke on the Lakers, and KP just became the final hit of the Hydra in Boston. So just saying, I'm just going to leave that one there. But
all right, man. Talk soon, okay?
See ya.
All right, my man, Mr. Dang's coming up next, guys. We got a whole bunch of people waiting to talk. I want to go to bed, but I want all of you to talk. So let's go.
Next, guys. We got a whole bunch of people waiting to talk.
Whoa, no feedback.
So let's go. Next, guys. We got a whole bunch of people waiting to talk. Whoa, no feedback. So
yeah, let me turn off this. Is that better?
Yeah, I think you had the YouTube open as well.
Can you hear me?
Yep, I can. Can you hear us? No, you can't hear us.
Okay, I can hear you now.
There we go. What's up, brother? How you doing? Feeling good today?
Yeah, I can hear you.
We're getting too much of a time lag here, Doe. I don't know what the deal is. I'm gonna punch him, then I'm gonna come back. Okay. Karam, what's up, man? How you doing, my friend?
I'm doing well. How are you?
We're good. We're good.
I really like Max Christie. He's pretty cool.
Max Christie is going to be an absolute super fan favorite around these parts. Think it's pretty.
Yeah,
pretty
I
correct.
agree. Like I told you before, I'm not really going to watch basketball games anymore just because of what's happened.
Right. Okay. Yes. You did tell me that.
No, I have not. I just been looking at the highlights and the box score because, I mean, it's really hard to invest my time on a team that I feel like they did us dirty. You know, I felt, it's hard right now to watch it. But actually, I wanted to get on because I have a conspiracy theory I wanted to share with you.
Sure. Let's do it.
All right. So, what if the conspiracy theory I have is what if Nico Harrison thought, the only way I can have this perfect lineup for this to even be possible, I have to trade Luka. I'm going to have a conversation with Luka. I'm going to tell Luka, hey, I'm going to trade you. It's only briefly. But just pretend to be mad. Trust me, because if I trade you, I can get Anthony Davis, and then next year I can get KD, which is also the time 2026, 2027, Luka's contract expires, which could also allow Luka to come back and play not only with Kyrie, but KD and AD.
The money of it's impossible.
Is it?
Yes.
Okay.
The Mavericks are up against the and also I don't know what you would have to promise me outside of the fact that I would also have to give up $100 million because that's the other part. So I do appreciate the
Someone
wish.
responded, that is outrageous.
The wish casting. I very, very significant wish casting. I get it. I mean,
I don't know. I feel like, what other way can I make it think right? I mean, think about it. I mean, it's hard just to think about, like, I'm just going to throw Luka for AD. I mean, you could have just gotten AD without getting rid of Luka. Like, you could have thrown in players and picks and still have gotten AD.
So there's an axiom called Hanlon's razor, and it's a rule of thumb that suggests that people should consider incompetence over malice. Okay.
Yeah.
He thinks AD is better than Luka. And all these people say, oh, he's a better fit. Better fit at what? They got to the finals. But it's done. I'm not going to do this till the rest of time. We will keep talking. We will figure this out, okay?
Yes. One last question. How do you think the fans are going to react on Saturday?
It depends who's in the arena and who isn't. People are pretty pissed around here, though. I know you're out west right now, and I've been surprised at the level of what the fuck that I've seen in my life. Like just texts from people who are like who don't even really watch basketball. So that's been something.
Yeah.
So.
Alrighty. Well, thank you.
Sure thing. Talk soon. Okay.
Yes, sir. Take care.
All right. Coming up next, we have a set of guns coming on the show. Chris Haley, welcome. What's going on, bub?
Hey, it's been a while, man. Can you hear me?
Do you have a WCW SummerSlam shirt on?
Yeah, Bash at the Beach 96, baby.
That's amazing.
Y'all were talking about wrestling. I'm like, he's going to mention that WCW shirt.
That is incredible. How you doing, buddy? Long time no talk.
Man, that game tonight, if that's one win we needed, was and we're shorthanded by Lively, Washington, and who else are we missing?
That's Dwight Powell, but he comes with the building. So we're never really missing Dwight Powell.
The untradeable Powell.
He's like like the Holy Ghost. He just is around. He fills.
Honestly, have you ever seen a role player that has stuck with a team this long?
No, he's played.
I love Powell as a person, but
it's
not like he's like good / great. I mean, he's
I'm pretty
okay.
sure he's like number 7 all time in Mavs played uniform. He just comes with it. So what do you got, buddy?
Still reeling about the whole thing. It sucks,
Sure.
but yeah, we'll just have to. There's nothing we can do about it. We just have to see how AD plays. We'll see how the rest of the season goes and all. I'm excited defense wise, and it looks like we're going to be playing faster on offense, getting in fast break and all. But yeah, the defense, we're going to be a hard team to beat, and the fact that we've already beaten OKC twice without Luka, and then you're going to add. I'm saying twice without Luka. I think the first time was.
Oh, we beat him 3 times without Luka.
Oh, wow.
Mhm.
Okay. So, I mean, looks good on that, but I'm just wondering, I'm just looking here because I'm like already forgetting what I was going to say.
It's okay.
But, with the whole Anthony Davis trade kicker thing, so he had to voluntarily lose money.
Yep.
To,
And I'm
Man.
surprised like that's if there's a Mavericks leaning conspiracy adjacent thing going on right there, it's that. Because I don't understand why he
or
did
something
that.
just to waive his no trade clause. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
wow, that's crazy that he gave up money. If he would have just declined that, then there would be no trade, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, no, the Mavericks would have taken it. Then it would have put them over because the contracts were pretty okay. It just would have put the Mavericks in a place where they would have been over or something. I don't pay attention to the salary cap because I do not watch basketball for accounting.
And my whole thing with let's say we won the championship against the Celtics, would he still have? I mean, there's no way we'll know, but would he still have gotten traded because the owners are being cheap? I don't know if this whole week I've been thinking Nico's the villain, but really, is it the Adelsons? Is it Dumont?
No. If you go look into how much money these guys make off casinos, they don't care. Like the
Mavericks, like $42 billion or something.
The Mavericks are one of the most profitable sports franchises, and even as a profitable sports franchise, it doesn't come close to making gambling money like this. We talked about this. You and I exchanged some messages. This was a Nico choice. Like it, the other thing it's like insane about this, like the Mavericks valuation as a franchise sunk also when they traded Luka.
Mm-hmm.
Like, so it's like, yeah, you don't want to pay this guy $300 million, but then the franchise valuation probably sank 500.
My thing is that game we played against on January 9th against the Lakers at home. So this whole coffee shop discussion with Nico and Rob probably happened around then.
Mm-hmm.
Why didn't they just, if they were actually going to do this, just do it then? We've been missing Luka for like 6 weeks. We could have had Anthony.
Well, I mean, this is why I think Nico has been so confused about the reception is because he thought he did something. And so there's been some speculation, and this is granted, this is speculation. I'll talk about what speculation, what's reporting. What speculation is that Nico might have asked for AD last year for Kyrie, and they said no for kind of obvious reasons. Then I think at a certain point, what's happened here is they went back with Luka and with the offer, and I should just say Nico Harrison. Nico Harrison went back with the offer of Luka, and instead of saying yes immediately, which was probably what Rob Pelinka's brain said to do, it was to string it out over time. Because
that worked on their favor, so the
offer was bigger initially. It was Max Christie and Dalton Connect and 2029 first round pick and 2031 first round pick. I think we would all still be really pissed had that happened, but I think we would have at least talked a little bit about something. And so my understanding from there is then Pelinka came back and used the same logic as to why Nico wanted to trade Luka to begin with, which was essentially he's a risky investment against him to whittle the trade down to where we ended up.
This has been racing in my head all week. Like,
well, Nico consulted no one. He consulted no one. He told Patrick Dumont, but the thing that the Mavericks fans need to acknowledge is Mark Cuban sort of broke our brains as to what we expect of owners. If you're in a management situation and you're employing someone to do something for you, so Patrick Dumont is employing Nico Harrison to make basketball decisions. If you don't agree with the decision of that magnitude, i.e. trade Luka Doncic, then you have to fire Nico because that's a franchise-altering thing, okay? And as a result, I think he trusts his expert. Now, I don't think Nico Harrison is an expert. That's what's important here. But he is paid to be the expert. And so Dumont went along with this because that's what his expert says.
But
does that make sense?
Doesn't Cuban own, like 34% of the Mavericks? I mean,
he owns 27%. And
But even
at
then,
any
like,
point,
what-
this is very important, Chris. This will shock you because I'd learned this because I didn't really pay too much attention to the agreement. The Adelsons at any point in the next 3 years can whittle his 27% ownership stake down to 7% for any reason. They can just buy it from him. So he's essentially a very well compensated, because he gets parts of the Mavericks profits, season ticket holder. What Mark Cuban has to say does not matter. Now, you have been a really long-term Mavericks fan. At one point or another, Ross Perot sued Mark Cuban when he was a minority owner. Ross Perot Jr. did. And it got really messy. There's nothing a minority owner can do. Cuban knows this. And that's why I don't really like involving him in this, other than to say, well, you hired Nico to begin with.
Yeah, he wasn't most likely notified. The trade happened and he found out. And my thing is just confusing how these owners didn't they go to the games last year during the playoffs? I mean, don't they see how marketable and how much money Luka's making the franchise?
But if you pay that guy to do a certain thing and he makes a recommendation of that magnitude, I think you either have to go along with it or you have to fire him.
Yeah, and it's one of those things. It sucks.
It's going to eat it. It's going to eat at you for a while. I get it. I get it because it's just
all week. But you know what? This is basketball. We still have a good team. It sucks that our window is shortened, but what can you do? None of us can do anything about it. I'm going to support the Mavs no matter what. As long as the Lakers aren't going against the Mavs in the playoffs, I'll root for Luka. But I'm always going to be a hardcore Mavs fan. But this does suck. But just have to move on from it. But
all right, man.
Good win tonight.
That is a good win. I'm going to try to bring up Doe again here. But before I do so, I want to at least acknowledge one more thing. So I'm just going to kind of keep repeating this. This is not me being lectury. This is just me learning things and passing them along to you. There's been kind of the fairly regular refrain of, are the Mavericks going to move to Las Vegas? No. The Adelsons are based in Las Vegas, but they don't own any casinos in Las Vegas, and they are relocating out of Las Vegas. Las Vegas is not important to them at all. Texas casino money and Texas gambling is what is important to them moving forward, at least in America. All right, coming up, we're going to try Mr. Doe again. We'll see if we can get the echoes handled.
Hey, Kurt.
How are we doing?
Oh, man. It feels like a funeral.
We can hear you, though. That's good.
Yeah.
So you sound good.
Yeah, it feels like a funeral just happened, and you're just trying to, remember the good times as much as you can. And it's tough because, they draw a line in my heart between Luka and the Mavs.
Yeah.
But the way things went down, I feel like Luka was betrayed because the management didn't have the cojones to confront Luka with the issues they had with him. And they were legitimate issues about him, overplaying, in the offseason, not letting his body heal, not coming into shape. But to not have a sit-down talk with him to see if he was going to be able to shape up or not sign the Supermax, and then doing the best thing possible for the organization, if you don't think it's truly the case, is to shop the freaking deal because Pelinka played chess while Nico played marbles.
Yeah.
This is like the Herschel Walker trade.
Yep.
This was a devastating trade. It made me want to say, Adam Silver, why did you let this happen? But I'm mad at the Adelsons for not understanding the heartbeat of this town, and I'm mad at Dumont.
Yeah.
Because Luka was way more about the joy that he brought and the way that he played the game. The referee crap I didn't like. Some of the stuff that he did, not being in shape, I didn't like. But overall, the guy's got heart. And you think about it, how many killers in the game that you would trust at the end of any NBA game to not only hit the game-winning shot, but make the right play with the right pass play toward the end of the game and trusting his teammates.
Sure.
I feel betrayed by the organization, and the edge goes to Luka. I'm a Luka fan. I'm a Mavericks rooter.
Yeah, but I mean, look, man, I sort of don't believe you. You've been watching this team for 40 years, right?
Yeah.
But this is frustrating, and you're allowed to, and I told Josh this in our last show. I said you're allowed to feel both these things at once. And I think there's a little something to what Nico Harrison has to say about people coming back if we start winning. But, I'm seeing all these quotes. There's all these post-game quotes right now where talking about the environment Saturday at the game. And it's like, well, fans are allowed to boo. And it's like, the fans aren't booing Klay Thompson. They're not booing Jason Kidd.
No.
They're not booing Anthony Davis. They're booing Nico fucking Harrison. And we need to get that, like, I'm sorry, him, like, it feels like he's hiding behind players and shit like this. And, like, say it with your chest, man. Don't get up and make stupid jokes and expect people to forgive you for a thing that you did in the dead of night while trading with your friend while screwing the Mavericks to a certain extent.
Be accountable. He needs to be accountable.
That's right.
You know?
And to his credit, he has said this is all him. And so that's why I get a little grumpy with these conspiracy theory adjacent items, because the guys like when people tell you who they are, believe them. That's all. That's all. And look, I'm not calling you out because I just like, look, you love the Mavs. They hurt you too much to truly divest your heart from them. I don't believe you.
And I got half a season court passes, and right now I'm not in the mood to go on any of the games.
I feel that, man. Well, you got anything else for us?
No, man. It's just more mourning right now. I'm glad they won, though. It's a good thing is they're showing some heart.
That's true.
And if it was before the season, I wouldn't have any hope in any of the games if Luka wasn't in the lineup, So they've made some progress, but, man, operating like this in a total vacuum, where DeMont, where are you? Adelson's, where are you?
Well, I mean, here's the irony, man. For years, you came on this show. I complained openly about wanting a GM to be able to operate with some autonomy and have Cuban out of the picture because Cuban muddied the waters. That's what we got here. I just don't like the end result. And it sucks.
And, I mean, he's still less than 50-50 on trades if you include Jalen Brunson.
Yeah, his track record, when you look at it big picture, is high risk, high reward. Is what I'll say. Definitely.
And it's just, he was so smug at the press conference. I just wanted to punch him in the face. It's just
There's something else there where if you watch him how he behaves and stuff, it feels like he's putting a little bit of
I just wish he could acknowledge that, it was a tough loss, but he thought it was the right thing to do for the organization.
Yeah.
It was just too smug. Like, he's so much smarter than the rest of the room.
Yeah. No, I hate that.
Anyways, thanks, Kurt. I appreciate it.
Talk soon, okay?
Yes, sir.
All right. Coming up next, my man Brandon. How you doing today, bub?
Kirk, I'm doing well. How you doing?
I'm okay. Day by day.
Day by day. Hey, I'm like him. I'm an old head, so I hate telling these old stories, but, man, that's how I felt when Mark Aguirre left.
Okay.
God.
I like a Mark Aguirre reference around these parts.
I'm going to just tell you, like, really briefly, man, that team was good. I mean,
which year was this?
That's the 87 year.
Oh, I was 4 to age yourself, but I understand that team was the only, maybe the Houston Rockets were the only true Western Conference competitors to the Lakers at that point in time.
And remember, that's when they had good teams with good, players. Seattle had Alden Polynice and Michael Cage, but Dallas had, think about this: Dallas Schiff, Hall of Famer; Sam Perkins, Hall of Famer; Londo Blackman should be a Hall of Famer; Derek Harper, he's a great. They had all these guys. Roy Tarpley, if he wouldn't have went the direction that he would have went, Hall of Famer. But man, that dude Mark Aguirre, he was the truth. And when he left, that's when everything he was Luka. He was Luka light, I guess you could say. He kept that team, but after he left, Sam Perkins left, Dallas Strength left. I think he went to the Supersonics, and then he went to the Pacers. Harp left, he went to the Knicks. Rondo Blackman left. Credit to Mark Davis. He was the only one that kind of stayed around. They had Donaldson. He ended up leaving. And a couple of guys went to the Bulls. But, he was that glue. And I was like, man, and that team never really recovered.
Oh, never. I mean, that set them down a path to destruction because the 90s were bleak.
And it was – and those players, they wasn't getting these big contracts. They were out to win, so they were staying with their teams.
Mm-hmm.
And, people weren't going to Dallas. They weren't like this supermarket that people.
Well, it's so funny too, and you know this, and I don't know if the youth of the chat will know this. The trades the Mavericks pulled off in the 80s, in the middle of the 80s, leading up to this, resulted in the Stepien rule getting created, which is why we can't trade draft picks for more in consecutive years, because the Cleveland owner traded with the Mavericks like over and over and over. Like it was theft. And the Mavericks benefited from it. And here, like 40 years later, I'm looking at it going, is this karmic comeuppance for stuff that we did in the past life as a team? I don't know.
I kind of wonder how Mark Price would have been on that team if he would have stayed, because he was one of those that kind of went to Cleveland that the Mavs had drafted but ended up going over there. But my point is, I mean, I've seen it before. Not just that, but just think about all of the good players. Like, dude, you know, a lot of people didn't like Monte Ellis. So I was like, that dude is a scoring machine. You can't just you got to try to pull him back in. And it's been players that Dallas kind of had opportunity to keep, but they never did really keep. Yep. Like after the championship team with Tyson, that was like the second time when I went through. Like, you just can't let Tyson just walk for nothing. Right. And he just up and just walked. And I'm like, you know, once again, they climbed the mountain and they fell. Think about this, for those 6 years or however long, they didn't do anything. They went through that center position was terrible.
It's so great.
Terrible. That guard position was terrible. And so after a while, they were finally able to get a guard. And now that they finally kind of got the big position figured out, I mean, it's been a long time. It's been a long, I guess, 40 years or whatever. But, you know, you just got to roll with the punches, man. That's how it is. I mean, just think about the Browns fans. Those guys are out there regardless of, you know, they're rooting for the jersey, and that's kind of how I am. But on the basketball side, though, man, I'm just looking at it. I'm like, this is one of the teams. I mean, if you were to think about it from a positive standpoint, the Mavericks can run 10 deep. If you think about their starting lineup and then plus what they got coming off of the bench, if you want to throw Exum in there, probably 11 deep if you think Exum could be a contributor. I'm not counting Powell or
I sort of need Exum to be a contributor because I don't think they have enough steady ball handling. Because Exum is a playmaking guard, where Spencer Spencer can, but I think his inclination is to shoot.
And that's being that you can either have Spencer as your number 2 guard or Exum as your number 2 guard. That's kind of a good problem. But like somebody to take the ball out of Spencer's hand, if he's just jacking, take him out and put Exum in. Somebody that's kind of more able to, you know, push the ball down the court. But I think that's a good position. If anything, they got 2 players. They got somebody that could come in and play that stretch forward, and then Chrissy could come in. I don't know if he's a combo guard or a point guard. I understand he's a shooting guard, but somebody that could come in and then kind of like, you know, pick up minutes when those guys need it. That's going to be an upside. But, you know, moving forward, you know, the players, to me, I feel like, you know, them thinking more about where they are on the records as opposed to, you know, maybe what position they could be in is more important, because at West is tough. I mean, if you look at the top, those guys are young and they're dangerous. You know what I mean? I never would have thought Memphis would be at that number 2 spot. Houston, I kind of knew it because they're kind of like the Astros. They've been building slowly that franchise for a while, and now they're finally at the point where they're like the Astros. They're ready to get them one. But that West is so young and so deep and just so talented, and nobody's going to let off the gas. And so, to me, I think the fans, you know, should really focus on, you know, the future of the Mavericks, because even though this was a terrible situation, I mean, the West isn't going to stop. It's going to only get younger, and it's going to get better. So I'm just hopeful that, you know, that the product out there is good. And just one more thing, I'm like wondering, do you think that they're going to use AD kind of how they wanted to use KP?
I can't wait to see how this goes, because he insists that he wants to play 4, but we have years of data that he is best as a 5. Kid wants him to play 4 though. So like in terms of basketball, different stuff. So it's like, no matter how you feel about the trade or whatnot, we went from having one kind of basketball to talk about to having a whole bunch of different stuff, which we're going to have to see the Mavericks suss out over the next 30 games.
They say all the time is one ball, but what's going to be different if he wants to play that 4, like the Dallas style of basketball? He's going to have to play around the free throw line. It's not going to be where he's going to play on that baseline down.
No, and teams win by 3s, and I think that vexes Jason Kidd. Like I think it actively insults him when there's stuff like that happening.
I just don't see how they're gonna. I don't know how they're gonna pull him out to that high post. It'll be interesting to see how
I
he's
said
doing.
this earlier that Lively, when he is healthy, and AD can make threes. They just don't. They don't shoot a lot of them. I mean, when the Lakers won the title, AD shot 40% from three.
Yeah.
And then he worked with a trainer named Lethal Shooter that in my kind of humble, uninformed opinion, like broke his damn shot.
Mm-hmm.
But when AD's shot is right, he's kind of unstoppable. It's just it comes and goes is the challenge.
I'm sorry, Kirk. I just got one more thing. Do you think that they're developing Lively correctly? It seems like they're asking him to do a lot, but they're not showing him how to do one good thing. He can do a lot of things, but he's not able to do one thing well. A lot of that is raw talent. Like you were saying, he can shoot the three, but they want him to shoot the three, play good defense, rebound. They want him to do all of this stuff. It seems like they're asking him to do a lot, kind of like Wemby, but he's not really focusing in on just.
Well, when he gets back, his role is going to be so different because I think the Mavericks might run, a pick and roll heavy offense, but it won't be quite as pick and roll heavy. So maybe he'll get the opportunity to operate out of different ways. I'm curious. There's a lot there. It's a fun basketball discussion.
It is, and just closing out, you were talking about Christie, and to me, I'm like maybe that could be the Josh Howard, Marquise Daniels lineup again. Him and PJ Washington, if they kind of get a chance to gel with each other.
See, yeah, they have like these interesting small ballish options, and I think Kid doesn't want to play small ball, but they're there, man. That's for certain.
Yeah.
All right, bud. Talk soon. Thanks so much. Good to talk to you.
See you.
All right, my friend Zach's coming up next. Zach, welcome to the show. Long time.
Hey, Kirk. How's it going?
It's good. What's going on?
I'm in a much more stable mindset than last time I talked to you Saturday night. Just wanted to get some initial thoughts. I'm not going to vent too much about Nico, but so one, I haven't decided if I'm going to stay like a committed Mavs fan. I've been one for 20 years, and it's really, I always think about how much I love the community, and I'm like, I'm not going to not watch Kirk's show because Nico Harrison made a dumb move. Like that just feels really shitty. It's just tough to trust the team, if I'm being honest. So I think to everybody who reads my tweets and is like, why is he on the show? I'm still trying to figure out where I'm at actually as a fan, but I couldn't help when I checked the score at halftime and I see that the Mavs are winning. It's like an involuntary happiness response.
Yes. And I think that's good. It's
and like
good.
I was mad. I was happy because I'm like, I want bad things to happen to this team. They were like, I can't help it that I was happy to see them winning when I've just been sulking the last 5 days. So I just wanted to kind of share that weird experience with you of
the dichotomy of man.
Yeah. So then I ended up watching the second half, and just to talk some straight ball here, not like I wasn't trying to focus on the emotion or anything. I obviously really like Christie. I like the action, the activity. I think it's really amazing for someone like that to be so with it and versatile just as a 21-year-old. Mm-hmm. I think that's, you think about what we thought about Josh Green and Omax. I think Christie's really promising. I'm curious, though, what you think the ceiling is for a team like this in the playoffs with everybody healthy, because I think this defense could be really good, but Kyrie really got suffocated a couple times by those big bodies on the perimeter. And I just don't know what the release valve would be for this team in that scenario. And if the defensive surplus we're getting with these new guys can balance out that lack of offensive versatility.
I mean, that's sort of the hope. And you got to hope that they score off turnovers and things like that. And they're not getting bogged down. The half court is where I get a little worrisome. But I think I'm interested to see how the problems work themselves out or don't,
Do you think this team can make the finals or no? No, right?
No, but that's not an insult. It's making the finals is hard. They're a 10 seed right now. Could my opinion change over the next 20 games? Absolutely. But they just have such a tough road to hoe. And I know, and I've actually seen some interesting. It's like, this is where the Mavericks were at this point in 2022 and 2024. And there's a lot of comparable points. It worries me. It worries me. I think that they're just, a little bit too far behind the 8 ball, but and I think they're really relying on a healthy Kyrie, and we've gotten, let's see here, B-ball reference, Kyrie Irving. It just comes up in my chat. That's how often I look at Kyrie Irving's basketball reference page. He's played 40, and the Mavericks are what? So he's missed 12 games, 13 games so far.
Yeah,
I think that's right. How many games have he played? 27 and 25, I think, is what the Mavericks are. 25, 52 games so far. If let's just assume that's right. I think that's right. So he's missed 12 games. I think you have to book in just historically. Kyrie has played fewer. He played 58 games last year. He played 60 the season before. You just kind of gotta, like, a guy at his age and his size, I think you have to book games missed. Maybe not due to injury, but something. And so how do they play in those games? Because to me, he's a primary driver of the offense that's sort of limited. So that's kind of the questions that I have. Can they survive this stuff with Kyrie, playing 8 of 10 instead of all 10, that sort of thing?
Sure. No, that's fair. I thought Kidd's pregame comments were interesting. The more I hear Kidd talk, it makes me think, and I think you and Josh were maybe talking about this earlier, or maybe it was a different podcast.
Sure.
Do you really think Kidd had no idea that the trade discussions were going on?
Good question. I think Kidd might have incepted it. I think he is a masterful manipulator, but I don't think that Kidd was involved in the actual machinations of the trade. No, I think that he might have helped put the idea in Kidd's head and Nico's head.
Really? Okay.
I do. Yeah, I do. Because he coached AD. He values big men. He values defense. From the very beginning.
And I agree with that, but the machinations of, do you think Kidd was aware that Luka would have been on the table for AD?
Yes. Yes, absolutely yes. But wow. I don't think that he knew of this. I don't think he knew that he went and talked to Rob Pelinka. Yeah, Robert Herman is talking in the chat. He goes, his body language says he's surprised. And I'll tell you this, Robert and Zach, all my Bucks fans friends are like, this has Kidd's fingerprints all over it. Some of the stuff Kidd did with the Bucks in terms of manipulation, like I have a friend who worked for the Bucks, and it's there's just some Kidd might agree. I think Kidd's gotten better about his using and displaying his sort of sociopathic tendencies. So, but I'll just say that I really don't think that when the coffee shop stuff, the reporting on this was very, very detailed. And I don't and the other thing is Nico seems incapable of lying.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
I get that gist. Yeah.
So,
I guess last point on that, I want to be my fandom's always going to be a little broken because of this.
Mm-hmm.
What is the argument for not moving on from this team when every fiber, everything in my head's just slowly separate yourself from this team? What's the argument for not, when you can't trust the ownership, can't trust the management, can't trust the coaching, because it's just such a colossal fumble of a generational talent. I really have a tough time trusting anybody. And because of that, it seems difficult to pour myself in as a fan as I have the last 20 years.
I'm looking forward to reading Tim McMahon's book. You see all the assholes on Twitter who's you were never nice to Luka. And it's that's not Tim's job. Tim McMahon has written a whole book on how the Mavericks have kept and now moved on from Luka. And I'm fascinated to read it because my outsider opinion is that the Mavericks gave up the car keys way too early to Luka. And as a result, some bad habits were formed that they then were never able to move back from, because I just can't believe no one ever was like, Luka, you have to play at 245. You can't play at 260. I can't. And that kind of seems like what happened, where it's there was all this basically high school girl shit surrounding Luka, where they were not ever truly confronting him because they were afraid of pissing him off.
Really?
And this is just my take. It's just like what I said earlier about the we got to make sure that nobody is attacking players and, or like it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. If you're so scared to have a conversation, then everything you fear might come to pass anyways. Like sometimes you have to address problems like adults, and he's a professional basketball player. And I just sort of feel that, and I know this was the case under Carlisle, they felt like they couldn't talk to him now. And that's why Kidd was such a different, like a change of pace, because Kidd and Luka definitely had a relationship. But it's just like, if you're to the point to where you really feel he can't take care of himself and you have to trade him, I still think they just sort of made up their minds, and then they found a reasonable thing after the fact.
Well, that's where, on that note, and this is just my last thing, so I know you got other people to move on to. I really echo your sentiment about, what were you saying? Like, don't mistake malice for incompetence.
It's a thing called Hanlon's razor.
Okay. Yeah. That's what you tweeted about earlier.
Don't mistake being stupid for being mean.
Well, the more I think about it, if you're operating the premise that Nico doesn't know what he's doing and his valuation's off, it actually makes a lot of sense what he's saying. I didn't want it to get out, that we're trading him. I like AD. And so, because in my head, it's like the Lakers don't have the assets for Luka. So you just say, hey, we want all of the assets. Like, we already know we're selling it short. Give us all the assets. You're already getting him 50 cents on the dollar. Because I think all those assets we could have gotten were maybe 50 cents on the dollar. Because AD is still an amazing player. Like, I think people are forgetting how good Anthony Davis is. Like, Anthony Davis is probably worth like 3 first-round picks as a talent. But it actually makes too much sense that Nico then got talked out of that because he couldn't anchor on a higher price. So just wanted to echo that.
Sure.
I'm actually starting to believe that Nico just doesn't know what he's doing.
That's right.
Anyway, thanks, Kirk. Very appreciate
Sure, man.
it.
Talk soon. Appreciate you coming up. All right. Now we have Ash, who's waited patiently. Ash was on a few nights ago before the Luka trade and kept me sane on a night when no one wanted to talk to me. How you doing, Ash?
Kirk Henderson, good to see you, bro.
Good to see you, too. What's going on?
So much for 30 minutes, huh?
Sorry, man. Well, I mean, look, you guys all want to talk, and I don't want to dissuade people from doing this because you guys are what keep my show alive.
Oh, it's nice of you. Yeah, I missed your post-game recap tonight, so forgive me in advance if I say anything that...
No, it's fun.
So, PJ missed the last 2 games because he had a baby boy.
That's right.
Yeah.
Good for him. Congratulations, PJ. You're in for a world of confusion.
Before the game tonight, I thought we had a 0% chance of winning.
Me too.
So I'm in an incredibly good mood because of it.
Good way to kind of sort of close out the week, yeah?
Yeah. Do you think I noticed Jaden Hardy was benched again. Do you think Jason Kidd just gave up on him, or?
I think right now he's trying other guys, and I think he'll circle back to him. Our guard depth is not good enough to basically say these guys are going to play for the rest of the year because these guys run in and out of they don't play well sometimes. I mean, we saw it in the postseason last year when Dante Exum kind of became a tortoise and Jaden Hardy came out of his shell. So I think he'll get another chance. I mean, Hardy drives me crazy, but his main asset that I think really is an asset, even though it drives me nuts, is he has insane confidence. So we'll see how he goes.
Yeah, I like his confidence too. I was thinking maybe Jason Kidd is just prioritizing defense.
Yes.
To what Nico was saying. So I don't know.
Yeah, I absolutely think that's the case. And Hardy can't pay attention on defense. He's bad.
It's nice to have Exum back.
It is, and he looks good. He looked confident tonight, which was pleasing.
Yeah, I miss his game.
Yep, I like watching him too.
I noticed Clay, he's always so off and on. Like, once he turns it on, he's gone, and then all of a sudden, abruptly, it's over.
Yep.
Kind of like what happened in the second half tonight. At least he's not forcing threes, because that always bugs me when he does that.
Yes.
I just wish he would just stay aggressive, though, and keep it flowing. That'd be amazing.
We'll see. I'm looking forward to them trying.
And they didn't play Kyler Kelly today, too.
Which I'm okay with. Kyler's not long for this team, but he did his small part, and we're grateful for him for that.
I'm actually relieved they did not trade for Durant because I'm a big PJ and Gafford fan. I think those guys are underrated. Durant's 36.
Keep an eye on that towards the summer, though. I will say that it's easier to make player transactions during the offseason. The rules are slightly different. And I know it was reported today the Mavericks made a very hard push for Durant. So but that's later, and we don't got to worry about it right now.
Huh. Yeah, I have at this point I have absolutely no expectations. I'm not even sure Kyrie's going to stay.
It could be the offseason ahead is very interesting.
Yeah. In a few weeks, I think everything that's happened so far is leading up to February 25th, when the Mavs play in LA.
Should be a fun one.
Yeah, that's I'm gonna be so excited to watch that game because AD's back and so is Luka. It's just gonna be interesting to watch.
That's right. Well, got anything else for us?
That's all I got, brother.
All right, talk soon. This was a good comment from Nico Harrison burner account. Kirk, I want to see you post up Kyler Kelly at the local rec center. My game was I was a big guy, but I played with a 7-footer, so I never really got to post up past like the 8th grade. So I played in like the short corner in the high post and passed to the tall guy, so he would block the shit out of me. Ben, you're going to close us out. Ben, what's going on? Hit that unmute button for us, and it'll bring you on.
All right. Can you hear me?
You sound good.
Well, Kirk, it's an honor. I was also here for the Detroit game Friday. And I was like, yeah, man, I think the guys are going to pull it together, and Luka's going to come back in a week or so. And yeah, obviously. So that kind of sucks to be on either side of that. I guess when it comes to the malice or incompetence thing, right? Like those are not mutually exclusive concepts, right?
I don't think so. No.
and so I think you can get into the details of, because Nico at the very least was incompetent. We know that for a fact, period. Whether there was conspiracy or whatever doesn't really matter, but we know that for sure. We know that Dumont also, right? Because he approved it. If it was only those two guys and that's it, those are both incompetent people in terms of their fan bases, right? Like that's, and I'm not. What were you gonna say? Sorry.
Let me phrase it like this. I've asked around very specifically. I don't know this, but I believe this. I don't think Nico had to ask for Dumont's sign off.
I don't think so either.
So I think
that's my belief.
Yeah, I think Dumont, silence is acquiescence. Okay.
Yeah.
And my lawyer wife says that to me whenever I'm acting like an idiot, or whenever I'm not saying anything at all, whenever she's making a strong argument. And that, so it's like in that way where it's just like a lot of people are like, how come he didn't stop it? And it's like, well, if he stopped it, by that point, he probably should not employ Nico. You know what I mean?
Right. That's a lot of paperwork, man. You know.
Well, and people don't understand that because we've just used to the Mark Cuban making all the final calls, but it's like this is how Neil O'Shea operated out of Portland for years. It's fairly common, actually. Like I would say, like a lot of owners, like they're made aware of things, but this is a little different. So
Mark Cuban would have turned it into like a hero moment. Like he would have taken in public, like shamed him, thrown him out.
Yeah. No, for sure.
Whether or not Kidd was new or not, I don't know. I don't think there's any way to know until people write books later or whatever. But what I think the malice part, I think, comes more from Pelinka. And I'm going to throw out some wish casting here on Luka and the Lakers. because he knows that Pelinka, greased the wheels for this to happen, obviously, and he knows that, like, I guess the early reporting was that Pelinka wasn't allowed to ask Luka about extending with the Lakers, or re-signing with the Lakers. Sorry, and whatever. So I guess what I'm saying is I don't think Luka trusts this guy any more than he trusts Nico Harrison at this point.
Yeah.
Going forward, just in terms of the kind of dude he is. Now, I think for now, Luka's, he's got to do what he's got to do, and he's there, and he might be happy, and that could be great. But he holds all the cards. He can walk at the end of next season if he wants, and he may not want to rebuild in LA instead of going and dunking 5 championships in a row with Wembanyama in San Antonio. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So that's that. Whatever. But I don't know, man. Like, everybody freaking out. I don't know. I hope people can, like, reconcile, because I've reached the acceptance phase, I guess. I've been a fan since the early 90s, since I was like 10. Nobody got my joke that I made about the trade, where I was like, the only way this trade makes sense is if Luka and Kyrie were both sleeping with Tony Braxton.
Right.
You know what I mean? Right. That's only for the real Mavs fans, that joke. But I don't know. I guess for me, I love Luka. I'm a bigger Luka fan now, by a massive magnitude. Like, I hope he goes fucking Super Saiyan, like, just on the whole league, just destroys. And I'm still a Mavs fan too, So I'm not gonna. I unfortunately have decided not to spend any money on being a Mavs fan. That's my corner of the world. Like, I'll just watch the games after the fact or whatever until I am not as butthurt. I don't know, whatever.
Yeah.
But I do look forward to the potential of, like, even this season, like, what happens if, like, the Mavs surge a little bit, Lakers kind of tread water, 4-5 matchup, Lakers Mavs in the first round or even in the second round, like. You know what I mean? That could be amazing. And in terms of, like, earlier, you and Josh were talking about wrestling, and, like, now that I've accepted it, I can lean into the soap opera shit, and just be like, look, he's a villain now. Like, he pulled the mask off, like, it's like,
right.
I can, in an abstract way, I can look at it like that, and I'm still sad about Luka, because that's the thing. There's two kinds of fans, I think. And people are fighting. These two kinds of fans are fighting. I don't think they should if they're all Mavs fans. And there's people that are like, winning is everything. And there's people who are like, winning is not everything.
Right.
There are other things. And when you're a culture like Mark Cuban built, basically, the Dirk era, and you value that. And you hear this when you read a lot of comments on Facebook and stuff, all the European guys, they're like, hey, I don't think you'll understand how something was taken from Luka that can never be that kind of success that he was hoping for. He can never get that was taken from him in this process. And that's
right.
And so that kind of fan that appreciates things that way, look, I mean, we're going to be bummed out forever. There's nothing, but then there's people that are like, well, I just want my team to win. And it's not right or wrong. You can tell which side I'm on. I want my Luka.
Yeah.
Because I think we were all looking forward to that.
I mean, if he goes and does something really special, it's what Josh said. Like, rooting against Luka is not something, except for there's a segment of Mavs fans who absolutely hated him. And that's, everybody else is like, wants the best for him.
Right. Well, even within those fans, it's like Venn diagrams or something, it's like, there's still the people that are just like, well, winning is the most important thing versus like doing it this way is better, because obviously Dirk's championship would have never happened if Nico was our,
that's right.
It would have never, maybe Shaq and Nash would have rattled one off,
right.
Right after 2006 or whatever. But, would that have been as good? Absolutely not. We know that from experience. So whatever, we're all fans.
That's right.
Everybody fan how you want to fan. As far as the game tonight, Max Christie does look great. I'm excited to see that guy play. crazy long arms. He's got really good footwork. He can get in front of guys very fast on the defensive end. That's something that he's, I think, better than Grimes at, because he's got longer legs and then he's just as fast. He looks really, really good. But yeah, you can see that tonight was the proof of concept, even without AD and PJ going forward for the team. You just got to worry about Kyrie's bulging discs in his back or whatever. So that's the game we're playing right now, guys. It's this year or next year. I mean, best case scenario, it's like Mavs and Lakers just have, like, every time they face off, it's amazing. They face off in the playoffs every year, and it's crazy. It's entertaining. That's all we can hope for now. And
that's right.
So let's do it.
Well, good finish to this show, Ben. Thanks so much.
All right, man. Y'all have a good one.
All right. So don't know how Saturday's going to go. Daytime game. We'll obviously record stuff, but I don't want to commit to when right now. Thanks so much for hanging out. 2-hour show. My wife's going to be pissed. Outstanding. Go Mavs.
Exclusively on ESPN Plus, UFC 312, Saturday. Reigning middleweight champion Dricus du Plessis defends his title in a rematch against Sean Strickland. And Zhang Wei Li defends her strawweight title against undefeated Tatiana Suarez. UFC 312, Saturday at 10 p.m. Eastern. Buy it on ESPNplus.com/PPV.